Hello, hello. Welcome back to Finding Spirit with Tabs. I'm your host, Tabs McCaffrey, and I'm a developing medium here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And on this podcast, I share my personal experience as I grow and develop as a psychic medium and truly sharing everything and anything spiritually related. I like to call this a choose your woo adventure because we're all on this adventure choosing the different levels of woo that we are seeking and that we are taking in. I like to think of myself as like the mom next door that knows a little bit about the woo. And that's how I'm approaching this podcast. So if you are new, welcome. I encourage you to go back to episode 1. It's where I discover my mediumship, and the first 5 episodes, I'm going over my first spirit stories. It's really fun to go right back to the beginning. If you're jumping in right now, we are doing a series on the clair abilities, and I do have quite a bit experience with the clair abilities and have access to all of them throughout my readings. So I was feeling really confident to tackle these subjects and share some information, sprinkle my own personal experiences into this. Before we get started into today's episode about clairsentience, I want to just do a quick little plug. If you are looking for a mediumship reading or an Akashic record reading, I have my books open for April. Spots are going quickly, so if you've been wanting to get one of these, please make sure you book sooner than later because I have been seeing spots going like every other day. It's been quite a crazy busy month. All right, let's jump into today's episode. I am so excited to talk about this. I love clairsentience. To me, it's one of those complementary clairs. It works so synergistically with my other clair abilities, and it almost turbocharges whatever is coming through. Let's go over some basic stuff. Clairsentience is a psychic medium's ability that involves the perception of subtle energy and emotions. It is often referred to as the clear feeling. Yes, clear feeling. Individuals who possess clairsentience, known as clairsentience, can sense the emotions, energies, or physical sensations of people, places, or spirits beyond. In mediumship, clairsentience plays a significant role in connecting with spirits and receiving messages from the spirit world. Here's how clairsentience is significant in mediumship. So, first off, emotional connection. Clairsentience can pick up on the emotions and energy of spirits, as well as the emotions of those they are communicating with. This allows us to establish an emotional connection with the spirits and help connect the sentiments that they have that they wish for us to translate and share with their loved ones. Another way that mediums will experience clairsentience is through validation of presence. And this is probably one of the first experiences that most mediums will have with clairsentience. It can provide validation of the presence of spirits during a mediumship session. Oftentimes, when spirit is around, mediums will describe this kind of anxious feeling or tingling or pressure, usually in their upper chest area. I always think of it as it feels like to me like an anxious or a little mini panic attack. It's like my nervous system does a cartwheel, and that's usually when I'm like, okay, spirit has entered the conversation. And it seems to be quite a common experience. I feel like a lot of mediums say similar things. You can also experience it through energetic impressions. So some may receive energetic impressions or sensations related to the experiences, memories, or physical conditions of spirits. So oftentimes when I'm communicating with spirit and asking how they passed, I will receive energetic impressions. One example would be like a tightening in the chest. A lot of times for me, this would be a heart attack. One time I had a tightening in a chest and I had pain or like a sensation in my arm. It felt like it was kind of like in my arm going into my hand. And she said her dad, his heart went into cardiac arrest, but it was caused by an infection that he had in his hand. He had a cut, and the infection traveled up his arm and to his heart. And it was crazy how I could experience those impressions and relay how he passed. And that's just one way a lot of people will experience passings, and they'll have different impressions in different areas of their body for how the person passed. Another is empathetic communication. So oftentimes clairsentient mediums will have a strong empathetic ability. This is allowing them to empathize with the emotions and experiences of spirits and their loved ones. Next up is spiritual guidance, and this is the last one. I love this one. Clairsentience can also be used to receive intuitive guidance and insights from our spirit guides or spirit team. Clairsentient mediums may sense the presence of their guides or intuitive nudges or impressions, and oftentimes these can give guidance, direction, or comfort in readings or connecting with your spirit team. A lot of times I can tell the difference between a yes and a no just by the feeling that I'm getting. A no to me is like kind of a flat feeling, and a yes to me oftentimes is like a warmth, or I can feel like the energy building on it. These are just some simple ways that mediums may experience clairsentience throughout their readings and how it can benefit them. Overall, clairsentience I find adds depth and richness to mediumship by providing like that emotional, energetic, empathetic connection with spirit and helping relay the messages that they are sharing with us. And it also allows mediums to access like a broader range of information and insights just beyond the traditional, I see a vision or spirit is telling me something. When you add emotion, it's like sending a text message and putting in emojis. It's funny how emojis can help set the tone of what you're trying to say. That's how I feel clairsentience is. It just helps set the tone of the message. Okay, let's go over a couple definitions. We're going to do clairsentient, clairsentience, and a clairsentient medium. So first is clairsentient. This is someone who can feel things that others may not notice. They're sensitive to energies and emotions, and they often can pick up on vibes and feelings in the surroundings. I bet if you're listening to this, you feel or experience this throughout your life. I guarantee that's why you're here and you're listening to this episode. Next is clairsentience. So, clairsentience is like having a special sense that lets you feel things beyond what you can see or touch. It's about sensing energies and emotions in a way that goes beyond your normal feelings. This is beyond like, I have a funny feeling about this. The clairsentience is like, it's a stronger emotion. I don't know how to explain it. When you connect with spirit and you experience clairsentience, you can start to feel the difference between that and your own feelings and emotions. And then the last one is a clairsentient medium. So a clairsentient medium is a person who can connect with spirits and feel their presence or emotions. They use their ability to sense energies and emotions to communicate with spirits and pass on messages from the spirit world to the living. Like I said previously, to me, it's like adding emojis into your text message. It just gives depth to your readings. Next question, how does clairsentience manifest in different individuals and different spiritual practices? You do not have to be a medium to use clairsentience in your spiritual practice. Different individuals will have different ways that they use it. First can be emotional sensitivity. Some people may be highly attuned to the emotions of others, often feeling what others are feeling without being told directly. They may also pick up on like subtle shifts in mood, energy, or atmosphere surroundings. Another way that clairsentience can manifest for spiritual workers is through physical sensations. And oftentimes, this will be felt like a tingling, a warmth. These sensations may indicate the presence of energetic shifts, spirit activity, or emotional responses. So, for example, I often will get like this kind of a shiver right before I connect. It kind of goes with that anxious feeling, and to me, that would be like a physical sensation. I've also felt movement around me, which still kind of catches me off guard and freaks me out just a little bit, but yeah, that those physical sensations are another way that it can manifest. Another one that this is one of my favorites because I feel like we all experience this. It's those intuitive gut feelings. Many people will experience that intuitive gut feeling or that instinct. It's like guiding them in a decision that they're making or helping them navigate a specific situation. Clairsentience will often rely on these gut feelings, which provide intuitive insights and sometimes even warnings about people, places, and events. Have you ever experienced you're going to go do something and you just get a bad feeling about it and you're like, I don't think I want to go today. And you cancel plans, you don't go out, and then you find out, something happened there at that event, or, maybe the power went out, or maybe people got food poisoning. I'm just throwing out some examples. But when you get that feeling like you're not going to do something, and then later on you find out that you're happy you didn't go, that's trusting those gut feelings. And it's something we all need to work on a little bit more. And then the last one is empathetic connections. So oftentimes clairsentience will have a strong sense of empathy or like feeling deeply connected to the emotions and experiences of others. When you see something, I'm going to say like on the news or on social media, and you can like feel the pain or feel the sadness. Oftentimes, people who are spiritual workers who have clairsentient abilities, they will have these strong connections with people, and sometimes people that they don't even know, right? Or they've never met. You can just feel that emotion from an experience. All right, let's go over a few different spiritual practices. It can pop up in mediumship. We've already talked about that. It's commonly used to connect with spirits and receive messages from the spirit world. Mediums may feel the presence of spirits as subtle energy shifts or emotional impressions. They may also experience physical sensations or empathetic connections with spirits, conveying messages and insights for their loved ones. Another one that often I hear about, and the more I'm in the spiritual realm, I feel like it's pretty common, is through healing. Spiritual workers that have healing practices, and I'm going to use Reiki as an example, oftentimes they are able to apply clairsentience into their healing practice, and this allows them to detect imbalances or blockages in people's energy fields. If you've ever gone for a Reiki healing and they're like, you have a blockage in your sacral chakra, I can sense it, I'm going to move it through. That is often being sensed through clairsentience. And it's just a really synergistic way for healers and energy workers to, I guess, apply and use within their practice. So I love it. It works with so many healing modalities. And then the last one is intuitive guidance. And we talked a little bit about this already too. It can provide intuitive insights and guidance in spiritual practices such as meditation, intuitive development, or divination. Individuals may receive intuitive impressions or feelings that offer guidance, clarity, or understanding on their spiritual journey. I will often look to intuitive guidance when I'm doing meditation. What do I need to draw attention to? What should I be working on? Which thoughts do I need to release? These are some really common ones that I'm personally working on right now, but I do find that intuitive guidance you can use with your clairsentience. It's just a fun way for them to work together. Overall, clairsentience, it's such a versatile and valuable ability. It truly enhances the intuitive perception, emotional awareness, and spiritual connection that you may have. And it also allows individuals again to tune into those subtle energies, those subtle emotions, those little intuitive sights. Helps you build that deeper connection with yourself, with others, and with the spirit world. All right, let's jump into some experiences. So, I wanted to share my own experience with clairsentience in my mediumship. As I stated earlier as well, I love having that ability, and I do find it works quite synergistically, which means it enhances the other clair abilities. It's one thing to have a vision or like a past memory that I'm receiving, and it's a whole nother experience to feel the emotions that the spirit felt or the person receiving the message felt in that moment. It just amplifies any messages or moments or memories that are coming through. I also experience validation of spirit through my clear feeling. When I start to connect to spirit, I will feel that tingling sensation or that nervous system doing a cartwheel. Again, this is being experienced through clairsentience. And then it just happens in so many different areas of mediumship. Like I've covered so many different points in here, and I feel like it's a little bit repetitive, but it all just breaks down to feelings and emotions and being able to interpret them in your readings. I do find that clairsentience for myself works really well with my visions or claircognizance because it increases or broadens or deepens the meaning of the message, where sometimes if I'm just receiving the vision, it's hard to tell what is the emotion associated with this, what is the message associated with this. And that clairsentience coming in just helps me to better translate what spirit is trying to say. All right, let's go into some techniques for developing your own clairsentience abilities. First one being meditation and mindfulness. This actually was a pivotal practice for myself in helping develop all of my clair abilities. But through regular meditation and mindfulness practices, you can help to quiet your mind, increase your awareness, and it's almost like tuning in and opening up your channels to receive those intuitive impressions. It's helping you tune down your own thoughts and tune up spirit. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the sitting down, closing your eyes meditation. It can be active meditation. There is a meditation practice for everyone, but it is important to gain control of your own thoughts and your own mind so that you can tell what's yours and what's spirit's. And when you're tuning in, you're paying attention to those real subtleties. So if you don't have control of yourself, it's hard to pick up on those small subtleties. Number two, energy awareness exercises. And this is a really fun one to practice. I like doing this when I'm out grocery shopping or out in public areas. But basically, what you're going to do is tune into the energy fields of people. You can do objects or environments, but people are my favorite. You start by focusing on your own energy field. What does it feel like? Where are the boundaries? And gradually you expand your awareness to include others. It's almost like including them into your bubble. And what you want to notice or pay attention to are slight shifts or sensations that you experience. Oftentimes you'll be able to sense where their energy starts to come in. And this can really help you tune into the sensitivity. Are there emotions that they're experiencing? What type of energy vibration do you feel? It doesn't have to be really in depth. It can just be like little quick ones as you're, walking through the grocery store, picking vegetables, whatever you're doing. But those public spaces where you have access to lots of different people are a fun way to kind of feel the energy out. Number three is developing empathy. And this is an important one. I think in order for you to have access to clairsentience, you have to have a level of empathy for those around you. And ways that you can practice this is by being an active listener. Too many of us do not do this on the daily, and I'm one of them. So it's something I've been working on the last 6 months. Having compassion for people when they're speaking, listening to what they have to say, almost like walking a mile in their shoes, right? Can you put yourself in their position and have empathy to their situation, no matter what your own personal thoughts or experiences are? It's basically putting yourself in people's shoes and trying to connect with their emotions on a deeper level. Empathy truly enhances your ability to resonate with the emotions of spirit and to help convey the messages that they have with sensitivity and compassion, I believe. Number 4, journaling. You should have multiple journals, but journaling is so important. I would say keep a journal to document any intuitive impressions, emotions, or sensations you may be experiencing. During mediumship or your spiritual practice, you can write down your observations, any insights, and any messages that you receive from spirit. I can't even tell you how many pages and pages of notes that I have in my phone from more when I first started. Now I can remember them and I write them into my books. But when I first started, I was just putting everything randomly into my phone. And looking back now, it helped me to determine patterns and where truly spirit was starting to step into my life. Another way that you can work on this is through grounding and protection. Grounding techniques such as visualization, deep breathing, or connecting with nature. I love connecting with nature to help me ground. These can help anchor your energy and maintain a strong foundation during your mediumship. Oftentimes, new mediums or new healers or spiritual workers will struggle with that grounding, so it's so important to implement it from the beginning. You should also be practicing energetic protection techniques. A really simple way to do this is just envisioning a protective white shield around you. It's like a little bubble that envelopes you and keeps you safe. I have used this as a technique pretty much since I started, and I find it to be very effective, very simple, and very easy to visualize and conceptualize. Helps you from becoming overwhelmed while working with spirit energy because you're dealing with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of energy and atmospheric changes happening around you, so you definitely want to safeguard yourself. Next up is validation and feedback. It's really important that you are seeking feedback anytime you are sitting with someone. Hopefully, this is someone that you trust. Another thing I like to look for if I'm doing practice sessions are people that are open and that have the ability to look at things more on a figurative level and not necessarily always a literal level. Sometimes when we have information coming, it's like connecting the dots, and you have to be able to think a little bit outside of the box. So this is also a really good way for you to confirm feelings. So I'm sensing this. This is what I think the message is. Does that make sense to you? Okay, great. Next up, this is what I'm feeling. I think this is what it means. Does that resonate with you, right? And it's getting that validation. That's why practice sittings are so important when you start out, because you need that validation so that you can start to decipher your own communication and your own translations and what does everything mean. I mean, I always say the best practice is just to be upfront, and if you don't understand, go back and ask spirit. It's a two-way conversation. I personally do not use symbols and like different feelings all over the body. I'm a very straightforward medium. Where are you from? What is your relation? Share some characteristics. How did you pass? But I do know that some people do work on more symbology when they're communicating with spirit in readings. And then the last one is practice, practice, practice. And like any skill, you have to develop these clair abilities. Clairsentience may not be an ability that comes naturally to you, but it doesn't mean that you don't have access to it. It just means you need to practice, and setting aside time on a regular basis, whether alone or with practice partners, you're going to be able to work on this skill and strengthen your connection with spirit. And that's really what you're working at the beginning. The more you practice, the more natural and intuitive your clairsentient ability will become. And yeah, these are just really easy ways to approach development. I always like to say to come at it with an open heart and a willingness to learn and trust what comes through. One of the hardest things new mediums or new spiritual workers struggle with is trusting what they sense, trusting what comes through. The worst case is someone is going to say no. And that's just a learning opportunity for you. That just means that feeling doesn't mean that. What does that feeling mean? What is the meaning to it? And take those no's as lessons, ways for you to better interpret and to learn how to translate. I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over, but that's really what this is all about. Okay, let's go over trusting and interpreting your clairsentient insights. So, it is really important that you build trust and discernment in these perceptions. Some of these are pretty simple. Most of them you can apply to your own practice. So, practice every day, spend a little bit of time working on your clair abilities. In this instance, we're going to say your clairsentient skills. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Also, listen to your body. Pay attention to any feelings or sensations you may be experiencing in your body. Trust these feelings. They're your intuition talking to you, okay? I'm going to say it again. Trust these feelings. That is going to be one of the hardest lessons that you're going to learn as a medium. Write it down. Keep a journal. I'm going to repeat that one. This one needs to be repeated. If you have a hunch, a feeling, you feel like you're receiving a message, write it down. This helps you track your progress. This gives you something tangible that you can look back at and see, was I right? Was that feeling right? Was that hunch right? The best way for you to validate yourself is to record it. Another way is, again, get feedback. Share your experiences with someone that you trust, like a friend or a mentor. They can give you feedback and possibly help you understand what's going on or what you're feeling. Trust yourself, believe in your instincts and your gut feelings. Even if you're not sure at first, trust that your intuition is guiding you in the right direction. Spirit doesn't waste any thoughts. And then I'm going to do two more. Set limits. Don't push yourself too hard. Take breaks. This is not a linear path. Developing as a medium is not an end goal. Like there's no, this is where you're going to be finished. You're going to be forever learning. So pace yourself, set some limits, and absorb small amounts. Like if you're taking in any learning, small amounts. Allow yourself time to practice and work on what you are learning. And then just stay open. Always keep an open mind. Always be open to exploring new ideas, new possibilities. The more open you are, the more you will learn and grow. And that's also a really hard one. It's not something that you can just teach. It's something you have to work on. All right, well, let's close this out. We're going to do a few Q&As and some misconceptions, or AKA myths. First question, how do I know if I'm a clairsentient? So signs of clairsentience include that feeling, that strong gut instincts, picking up on others' emotions easily, and experiencing physical sensations in response to energy emotions. If you're here listening to this episode, chances are you are a clairsentient. There's a reason why you're here, and you're probably relating to 99% of what I said already. It just all makes sense. Next question, can clairsentience be developed? Absolutely yes. Clairsentience can be developed through practice, meditation, and just owning your intuitive skills. We talked about quite a few different ways that you can work and develop your clairsentience. Everyone has access to the clair abilities. Some people may have like a natural ability and they can easily tune it on, and some people are going to have to work at it, but you do have access to it. So don't give up. Just make sure you're allotting that time regularly to work on your different clair abilities. Okay, let's jump into the myths. These are the fun ones. Clairsentience is the same as being overly emotional. Wrong. While clairsentients are sensitive to emotions, clairsentience involves perceiving subtle energies and impressions beyond personal emotions. When you are a clairsentient and you're using it in your readings, it is not your job to go through the emotions. It's only your job to perceive and to translate and explain the emotions. So it's really important to know the difference between those two. Next up, clairsentience is always accurate and reliable. So, like any clair ability, clairsentience does require practice and discernment. It's important to validate these impressions and also to interpret them carefully. You do have to validate with what you're experiencing to know what is true and what isn't. And not everything that comes through are you going to translate properly. So I don't want to say the feelings and emotions that are coming through are wrong. Most of the time, it's just how we are translating them and I guess converting them into words. And then last one, clairsentience is always intense and overwhelming. So no, not all clairsentience experiences are that way. Some can be quite intense, but they vary reading to reading. I also feel like it depends on the spirit communicator. Some spirits are really good at communicating, and some are a little bit more distant. Some rely on clairsentience, some may rely more on clairvoyance. I really haven't been able to pin why or how, but I do notice that there are differences in the spirit communicator themselves as well too, and how they choose to communicate with me. And oftentimes, I'm going to say it has a little to do with how they were in real life. That definitely plays a role as well. The more that you work on it, the more you connect with spirit, the more you do regular practice, the better you will get at managing the feelings and the emotions. Oftentimes, when mediums first start developing, when they start to feel like a sadness or a strong emotion, they'll start to cry. And it's a very normal thing because you're not used to experiencing such strong emotions. But the more you practice, the more you're in that situation and translating, I do find the less that they affect you in that way. Your job is not to be in the emotions. Your job is to translate them. Remember that. You are a spirit translator. That's the best way I can explain it. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. That's everything I have on clairsentience. I hope it helps you on your spiritual journey. If you are a developing medium, if you are working in some other modality in the spiritual realm, I hope this helps you on your journey. If you've enjoyed this, I would love a review. They help spread my podcast out into the podcast universe and reach more people, which that's all I'm trying to do is help other people that are walking this path and are spiritually curious, that want to learn more, that know that there's more to life, or maybe are experiencing their own spiritual awakening. I'm here for you. I'm going to hold your hand and we are going to walk this journey together. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a wonderful week. I cannot wait to record next episode, which is going to be claircognizance, another one of my favorite ones. I have so many examples to share in that. And yeah, it'll be another good one. So make sure you stay tuned for this series on the clair abilities. I will see you next time on Finding Spirit with Tabs.